All right, I've been trying to film this video for 20 minutes now, so I'm gonna try to do better. This better be the fucking last time I film it. So cults and being raised by narcissistic parents, it's very similar. A type of manipulation and brainwashing that you sustain by your narcissistic parent is all about removing your autonomy, your sense of self, your ability to do and be. Those things fuck with your sense of security and your sense of self, your sense of security in the world, your sense of security in yourself in the world, and your ability to be is tied to your sense of security. Now, just to lay it on you, I realized that my stepmother was a cult leader about a year ago, and it really gave me a lot of freedom to heal from it, because I was like, oh, that just means that the brainwashing that I'm trying to get rid of, these things that I believe about myself, aren't actually mine. There is the programming that we receive from the world, and then there's the programming that we receive from our elders, for lack of a better term. And her programming was that I was a piece of crap, and that I was never going to be anything, and that I sucked all around. My emotions sucked, my personality sucked, my behavior sucked, and no matter how much I worshipped her and tried to follow her goddamn rules, it was never gonna be enough, because she wasn't gonna be awake at 5 a.m. to open the back door so I could get the dog food and feed the dogs. She wasn't going to. She wasn't going to. But I still got up at 5 a.m. and fell asleep on the porch waiting for her to get up an hour later. And she would have been so mad if I wasn't at the back porch. So, it happened, and that's what I did, and that was my life for a short period of time, but no more. All right. Okay. I've never been in a cult, but what I know about cults, I've watched a lot of cult documentaries, and that's the sort of bullshit that goes on in cults. Brainwashing and worshiping your leader. You follow the rules, you do the things, you're cut off from the outside world, you believe the rhetoric, your mind is changed, and this is who you become slowly over time. And then it's hard to separate yourself from what you know now and what you knew before. What I came to understand through recognizing that being raised by my abusive parents was the same as being in a cult is that the beliefs that I had about myself were not mine. And that it became my responsibility in order to become self-actualized, in order for me to complete my mission on earth, in order for me to be the best healer that I can be, is to remove the brainwashing that I sustained and replace it with the person that I am today. Self-discovery, pattern identification, understanding yourself, removing chakra blockages, understanding who you are through tools like tarot. This is how I came to be today. When you engage with tools like pattern identification, you're able to track down where your neural pathways formed, when they formed, why they formed. If you know the when, if you know the why, you can go back in time and heal that part. This is what in-depth inner child healing does. This is what somatic healing does. This is what Reiki does. This is what past life hypnosis does if you should want it. Because what we're doing is tracking down a point in time where you yourself were not given the love that you need, were not given the advantage you need, were not given the autonomy you need, and we're putting your adult self there. And we're saying, hey, girly, hey, boy, hey, sir, ma'am, whoever you are. Let's put some tenderness, some care, some love, some understanding in there. And let's get a new groove formed. You have to know your patterns in order to change your patterns. You have to know how you behave in relationships. You have to know how you behave with yourself. You have to know what you normally do on a day-to-day basis in order to fix what you do on a day-to-day basis that is holding you back from being self-actualized. When you're in a cult, when you're raised by a narcissistic parent, it is probably true that most of the things that you are doing are done because you're trying to protect yourself from ever being involved in situations like that again, right? The act of self-isolation as self-preservation is a big one, because the idea is that if you isolate to preserve yourself, you will never come in contact with people such as these again. And I say that because of personal experience wherein I lost trust in people so much that I was afraid that at any point in time, the people that I know briefly, the people that I know long term, will actually one day turn out to be exactly like my stepmother, which really affected the way that I went after things, how I got into jobs, how I formed relationships, how I had my relationship with myself. And the way in which I was brainwashed is how I was treating myself. So there was no attention to self-care, there is no keeping my room clean, there is no eating enough, there is no exercise, there is no hobbies. There's just stagnant waiting in time, watching TV, hoping that if I just watch TV long enough, that when I'm done with the show I binge watched, everything will be fine and I will be fine and that I'm gonna feel fine. But that moment of feeling fine never comes, because what I'm doing is I'm ignoring my autonomy and choosing stagnation over growth. The problem with that is fucking misery. It's misery. When we ignore who we are fundamentally, it creates misery. A lot of inner child healing is in order for us to become who we are. When we are who we are, naturally, without our programming from society, without our programming from our abusive relationships, we are truly happy. Not all the time, but in the moments in which we have contentment and joy, we are truly happy and able to be there. Because we understand our thoughts, we understand our desires, we understand our emotions. We're able to praise ourselves. We're able to give ourselves grace. We're able to make genuine connections. We're able to feel and love and commit without worrying that somebody is suddenly going to turn into an abuser, or that our boss isn't trustworthy, or that we're not even safe going to the store and talking to the person at the checkout counter, or that we can't even be at the park at dusk. Those things are they're connected to chakra imbalances in our heart, where we learn to give and receive love, in our solar plexus, where we understand our autonomy and our will and we're able to affect change, and our sacral chakra, where we are able to understand our emotions and desires, and our throat, where we're able to speak our truth, be creative, and harmonize with other people who are at our wavelength, who are our allies and our friends and our lovers. We need all of these things balanced in order to be effective as people. Healing your innermost wounds, these energetic wounds that are now presenting as symptoms, like anxiety, like fear, like shame, like anger, like inaction, like insomnia, like headaches, like sadness, connected to wounds from the past, either in our lifetime or some other lifetime, connected to your childhood or just relationships that you've had, connected to a mental illness that needs to be dealt with in a bigger, wider way than just talk therapy. This is what I do. This is how I help people. I've got worksheets, I've got a book, I've got coaching, I'm intuitive, I'm psychic, I'm a medium, I'm fucking smart, I understand the nuance of people. I want to help you. YourAuthenticityWitch.com. Let's chat.